Drivers of subscription business. To understand any business, you have to identify the drivers that can influence this business. Let's see what drives the subscription business. So we're going to start by looking at the revenues, and this actually depends on two things: how many customers you've got and what is the average revenue per one customer. Once we've got the percentage gross margin, we can actually calculate the gross margin of the business. By gross margin, obviously here we mean the difference between the revenues and the cost of goods sold. Now, when it comes to the average revenue per one customer, this will depend on what are actually our prices, and usually we will have the so-called plans, more than one. And to get to the average, obviously we have to know what are those prices, what are the plans, and what percentage of the customers is buying specific plan. One of the way to increase revenue per one customer is actually to increase the prices or to convince more customers to buy more expensive plans. Now, when we look at the number of customers, this actually depends on how many customers we had in the previous period, previous year or month, and then also on the change that happened. As you can see here, we've got something which is called the net change of customers, which will be simply the difference between how many customers we got and how many customers we lost. Now, we can link the number of customers in the previous period with the customers lost. And for that, we use the so-called churn rate. This is the loss of customers relative to how many customers we had in the previous period. In other words, this is the loss in customers expressed as a percentage. Now, to get from the gross margin to operating profit, we obviously need some sort of a head office costs. And here we've got the main items. The biggest one usually in subscription businesses are cost of acquiring customers, retention costs, and in certain cases, depreciation and amortization. Now, when it comes to the cost of acquiring customers, we model that by looking at how many new customers we are acquiring in a specific period, and obviously the cost per one customer. When it comes to the retention costs, we would look at the retention cost per one customer and obviously the number of customers we've got. So that's in short when it comes to the main drivers of the subscription business model. As you can see, one of the most important ones are number of customers and also how many we are losing every month, average revenue per one customer, and then those additional things that we have mentioned. So the retention cost per one customer and obviously cost of acquiring one customer. We'll go back to this specific type of drivers later on when we will be discussing how to translate those drivers into Excel. But in the meantime, we will devote more attention to churn rate, which is an extremely important driver KPI that shows you also how good the business is. So let's discuss in a little bit more details this item.